Welcome to the Perrysburg Podcast, episode 55. I'm your host and Perrysburg resident, Kim Newlove. The Perrysburg Podcast is an informational podcast for prospective, new, and current Perrysburg, Ohio residents. We talk about what's in Perrysburg and why people like to live here. The show notes are on perrysburgpodcast.com. Today, we're talking about boat launches and kayaking in and around Perrysburg. Let's start with safe locations to launch a boat, a canoe, a kayak, or a paddleboard into the Maumee River here in Perrysburg. Then I'll share my conversation with Tina Saunders. She's from popuppaddleadventures.com. Tina runs a kayak and paddleboard rental business right here in Perrysburg. There are two official public boat launches here in Perrysburg. One is the Maple Street boat launch, and the other is the Orleans Park boat launch. If you're new to the area, the addresses for your GPS are 1 Maple Street, Perrysburg, Ohio. That's for the Maple Street boat launch, and 655 Maumee Western Reserve Road, Perrysburg, Ohio, for the Orleans Park boat launch. As with anything in life, use your judgment. Water levels vary. I've heard that the Maple Street boat launch has a deeper water launch ramp than the Orleans Park launch ramp. So if you know you need deep water to launch your boat, head over to the Maple Street boat launch. You can launch a canoe, kayak, paddleboard, or maybe even a jet ski pretty easily from either location, Maple Street or Orleans Park. There are 3 other public places that you can launch a kayak, a canoe, or a paddleboard here in Perrysburg. They are Three Meadows Pond, the Louisiana Avenue Boat Dock, and the Rapids Road side of the Riverwalk, which is next to Fort Meigs Battlefield. Let's talk about those 3 one at a time. Let's start with Three Meadows Pond. If you have a paddleboard, a tandem kayak, or a single kayak, and you feel comfortable stepping into the boat while it's sitting on the water, you will like paddling at Three Meadows Pond. The last time I was at Three Meadows Pond was with my son Craig last summer 2023. Now, there used to be a sandy beach area, and that made it super easy to launch a kayak or a paddleboard. The landscaping's been updated, and there is no longer a sandy beach. So it's much more difficult for me to launch a kayak now at Three Meadows Pond. My son has special needs, and there is no handicap accessible boat launch at Three Meadows Pond. He didn't feel comfortable stepping into the kayak last year in 2023 on open water, so we left after literally failing to launch. If you are comfortable stepping into a boat that's already sitting on water, you'll be fine at Three Meadows Pond. The scenery is beautiful. There are bridges to look at, I-75. There will probably be people fishing there. It's a nice park. I enjoy that park. But I just can't paddle around with my son there anymore. Launch at your own risk as well. The Louisiana Avenue Boat Dock is next on my list. You will find the Perrysburg Boat Club and a public boat dock there at the Louisiana Avenue Boat Dock. The Perrysburg Boat Club has docks and kayak storage, but no boat launch. No public boat launch that I have ever seen. The public boat dock that the city of Perrysburg provides has a kayak launch that is ADA accessible. That means that it's physically accessible to people with disabilities. I have seen it, and I actually tried to put my tandem kayak into the accessible kayak launch last month in July, but I was unable to successfully get the kayak into the ADA kayak launch. Failure to launch, another failure to launch. I don't mean to bring up bad things, but I want you to learn from my mistakes, my problems, my challenges. My kayak is 13 and a half feet in length, and it weighs about 70 pounds. It is big, it is heavy. With how the 90-degree angle turns were built into the railings for the ramp to the kayak launch, it was impossible to get my kayak down to the water. My son and I were alone, and he is unfortunately unable to assist me, so we had to pack up and head home. I tried to contact the City of Perrysburg's Parks and Rec Department just to give them some feedback, no animosity, but no response was received by me before this episode was recorded, so I can't say how they feel about it. I'll keep trying. Now, if you need to use the kayak launch at the Louisiana Avenue Boat Dock, the ADA accessible kayak launch, You'll probably be fine as long as you have a boat that's shorter than mine. Unfortunately, there is no other boat launch of any kind at the Louisiana Avenue boat dock to my knowledge. The third and final alternative kayak launch that I mentioned was the Riverwalk area by Fort Meigs Battlefield. How do you find this spot? Well, you head towards the Perrysburg Maumee Bridge. I believe the name of the road is Maumee Western Reserve Road, and you turn left on Rapids Road. Follow the road until you see a parking lot and the entrance to the Riverwalk. Right there along the muddy shore, I have seen people put kayaks into the river. I have not done this yet, but there is a muddy shore. It's a little rough, but it is usable. There you go. That ends my list of 3 alternative canoe, kayak, or paddleboard launch sites. I'll stick with Maple Street or Orleans Park, but the other 3 are options if you're up for a challenge. One last thing before I roll my conversation with Tina Saunders about boat launches and kayaking. If you are a canoe or a kayak owner, the city of Perrysburg rents a number of storage racks at Orleans Park near the boat launch. I used to store my kayak there each summer for years, probably 3 or 4 years, but now I keep it in my garage. If you only ever launch from Orleans Park, renting a spot from the city of Perrysburg is a great option. I believe it used to only cost $25. Head over to the City of Perrysburg's website and check out the page for Orleans Park to learn more. That's all I have to say about boat launches in Perrysburg. Now, I'll let you know that if you want to rent a kayak, there are 2 names that you need to remember: Maumee Tackle and Pop-Up Paddle Adventures. Maumee Tackle both rents and sells kayaks, and they're located just over the Perrysburg Maumee Bridge on the Maumee side. I've got a link to them in the show notes for episode 55 on perrysburgpodcast.com. Pop-Up Paddle Adventures, on the other hand, is a Perrysburg-based kayak rental company. It's owned and operated by my guest, Tina Saunders. Without further ado, let's learn more about Pop-Up Paddle Adventures from Tina Saunders. Hi, Tina. Welcome to the Perrysburg podcast.
Hi, Kim. I'm excited to be here.
So good to have you with me. This is a topic that I enjoy. We're going to be talking about kayaks and Perrysburg. This is going to be great. But first, let's talk about who you are and where you live.
As you mentioned, my name is Tina Saunders. I am the owner of Pop-Up Paddle Adventures, and I am a resident of Perrysburg Township.
Awesome. Township represented. I love it. I haven't had many guests from the township here, so this is great.
We love it. It's country, but it's close to the city, so you get the best of both worlds.
Excellent. Excellent. I really enjoy going over to Sawyer Quarry Nature Preserve that's over on Lime City Road, over by the Perrysburg Township Police Station. So Perrysburg Township's got a special place in my heart. This episode is about the boat launches here in Perrysburg. We've got 2 in the city. One is at the Maple Street boat launch, and then we've got the Orleans Park boat launch. If there are other ones, I don't know about them. So maybe you can enlighten me and tell me your experience with both of these.
Yeah, so those are definitely the 2 in Perrysburg that we launch from. We are a quote pop-up business. We don't usually pop up same day. It's usually planned a bit. So just as an example, this weekend we will be launching, Friday and Sunday at the Orleans Park, which happens to be, we probably have 12 different launch sites, within an hour of Toledo, and Orleans Park is absolutely my favorite. It's just so pretty there.
Awesome. I love that park as well. It just for launching a kayak. I don't do much else there. I know a lot of people like to fish there, but it's just that 0 depth entry concrete boat launch. And it's just so easy to drag a kayak down, and you feel really well supported and balanced as you step in. So yeah, I definitely love that one as well.
Typically, we'll go out and go around the Audubon Islands, and you can see so much different wildlife, and it's just a nice, peaceful adventure most days. Not always.
Yes, I personally like it when the water is smooth as glass and the current is not flowing quickly because my son rides in a tandem kayak with me and he is what I call a non-paddler. So it's
Ah,
easier for
fun.
me to paddle if we're not fighting the current.
Yes, exactly.
Now, how do you pick between the two, the Maple Street or the Orleans boat launch?
So last year we were doing a lot more out of Maple Street. It's a little more adventurous because you do get more speedboats, things like that, down towards that end. We do have people that want to go north towards Rossford. With the way our business works is they rent the kayaks or paddle boards for a certain amount of time and they can go wherever they want. On days that we're not open, customers can book boats if they're doing 4 boats or more out of any location listed on our site. So anymore when we do Maple Street, it's customer driven.
Gotcha. So the customer chooses the boat launch, right?
Yes.
Gotcha. I prefer the Orleans Park. I think I already talked about it. Just I really like the setup there. Nothing wrong with the Maple Street boat launch. I think that a lot of people do launch their motorized boats out of the Maple Street boat launch. Is
Right.
that your experience as well?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about the boats that you do rent. I read your brochure. It says you've got singles, tandems, and paddle boards. Can you talk a little bit about those? Are they sit in? Are they sit on top? What are those like?
Yeah. So we have, I believe they're called hybrid. You sit a little bit in them, but you're not enclosed for the singles. So we have, our basic singles that are, up to 250 pounds. And then we have our fishing kayaks that actually go up to 400 pounds. And obviously, the fishing kayaks, they can be used as just a regular kayak. I've always had them used as a regular kayak. But if you want to go fishing, it's much flatter on the bottom. You could literally stand up in it and cast a pole. So that's nice. Also, people that are taking out larger pets with them. We do allow dogs to go out on our kayaks anytime they want to. They don't have to be a service dog. Anytime you want to take your pet, you can do that. And if you have a bigger dog, the fishing kayak is a better bet for you.
Absolutely. I took my golden retriever on a paddle board once. I used to rent from River Lures, and then I discovered I liked kayaking and paddle boarding. So I bought a tandem kayak. I didn't buy the paddle board, but anyways, our golden retriever used to stand on it with me. It was so fun. We'd go out to Three Meadows Pond.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I have personally taken the boats out there as well. It's a nice place to kayak or paddleboard as well. I took my 2 small dogs out on both of them on the same single paddleboard. So we also do have the paddle boards. We have 2 rigid lifetime paddle boards, and then I also have new this year a inflatable, but I've seen videos of people driving trucks over it. I don't intend to drive my truck over it. But it's an inflatable 4 to 6 adults paddleboard, stand-up paddleboard. So it's, the company that manufactures it calls it the party barge. We don't necessarily endorse partying on the stand-up paddleboard, but if you'd like to take a picnic, there is room for a cooler.
That sounds like fun. That sounds like a challenge to get 6 people all at once trying to paddle in the right direction, or maybe just 5 people sitting and one person paddling. I'm not sure how
Exactly.
that would work out.
Right, right.
That sounds like
I've
fun.
had 4 young adults on there, and they looked comfortable. I'm not sure you'd want to put 6 on there. They'd have to be tiny adults.
Yes, I think I would want to see a picture of that. And speaking of pictures, I think you have an Instagram account for this, right?
We do. We do have an Instagram account, so I'm getting better at that by the day.
Very good. Are there pictures of the 4 adults on this, party paddleboard?
There's definitely some on Facebook. I'm not sure if that one specifically made it to Instagram or not, but
All right. I
it's
challenge you by the end of this season, I want to see one on the Instagram page
all
there.
right. Well, I mean, I have the photo, so it definitely could make its way over there.
All right. There you go. Next time there's a rainy day, I know what Tina's going to be doing, updating Instagram.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Thank you for talking about the different rentals that you offer and that pets are welcome. I think that's really cool that you could take your dog, and that's a cool suggestion. Or your cat. I don't know of any cats that like the water, but yeah, I could
Yeah.
see that maybe in a carrier. Who knows? That could be a first. That could be Instagram worthy too, by the way.
Yeah.
Now, as far as your ideal client, I know I already have my own kayak. I want to know, are you renting to people that don't have kayaks? Are you ferrying people who do have kayaks? I mean, what's your ideal client like?
Yeah, so we actually do get a lot of people that are coming in from out of town for day trips. So that was one of the reasons that I joined. I discovered that last year, which was my first year doing the business. Last year, I was just doing it as a side hustle kind of thing, most weekends. And a lot of the people came in from out of town. So I joined Destination Toledo so that we're in that Toledo guide. And that's been beneficial as well. But the ideal clients are, people looking to do, scratch something off their summer bucket list, people looking to connect with nature, people that have their own kayaks, that have friends that want to go with them, that don't necessarily want to go out and buy their own kayaks, people that like kayaking consistently, but don't necessarily want to load or unload or store it, things like that. You don't have to own a kayak to be a routine kayaker because you have options to just get them where and when you need them.
Good point. It sounds like if I wanted to go out with my friends and they didn't have kayaks, I could go to that central meeting point where you pick everybody up and have my kayak. You could just throw it on your trailer.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's a good option. Now, I know that there's a lot of different businesses that have seasons. This has got to be a seasonal thing because it is not safe in the winter, right? So, what would you say your season is?
So, I mean, some people do kayak in the winter. I will tell you, when we had the eclipse, and my best friend and I were down by the water, and there was a kayaker out there on April 6th, I think it was, watching the eclipse from the middle of the river. So that was kind of cool. But I didn't like this year. We tried to open like mid May. We had hot days in early May, and I'm like, yes, let's open. And then, the minute I opened, it was, windy and rainy. And, we didn't actually launch any boats until the last weekend in May anyway. But, if the weather's nice, it's not hard to open. I mean, I'm the first time it starts getting, warm, I'm going to, get out, clean the boats, get everything ready to go. And then, we've had some pretty warm Septembers the last few years. So I feel like I'm probably going to stay open on the weekends through September. And I'm kind of eyeballing doing a sunrise adventure out of Orleans Park in October, because won't the leaves on that island be pretty?
Yes, for sure. And I was just thinking about how the steam comes off of the water when the water's warmer
Oh,
than the air
yeah.
temperature. That could be really add some mystery to it too. Would look pretty cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm excited about seeing some fall colors from the kayak.
Yes, absolutely. I think I have kayaked as late as early October before, but I think that there's a safety issue once it gets beyond that because then the water temperature, it just gets too cold and you don't realize you're in trouble until you're already
Right.
flipped over. But
Right.
the type of kayaks you have are not necessarily the kind that are easy to tip over or for you to get water in there and get trapped or anything like that. So I just want anybody listening who's not familiar with kayaking to know that your safety is definitely a concern with Tina, I'm sure, but I think you're going to be just fine. I have never tipped over my kayak.
Yeah, they're definitely leisure kayaks. They're not the, ones where you're completely down in the kayak and feel like you're trapped in there. And to that point, like we do morning adventures out on the lake. We will do full moon paddles out on the lake, but for the most part, we're not sending kayaks out on the lake. When we do lake launches, it's, let's go out around this island at Cullen Park, or let's stay in this bay, stay close to the shores.
Tina, one of my favorite places to launch my tandem kayak is Glass City Metro Park. Can you talk a little bit about what kayakers will see if they launch at Glass City Metro Park?
Sure. Yeah. So we just started launching there this year, and it's shockingly one of our most popular spots. It's such a pretty skyline, right? I mean, you're paddling like right there in the heart of Toledo. And, then you've got Wade High School there as well, which, is my alma mater. So I'm a little bit biased. But yeah, you can I've had people launch out of Glass City all the way down to the murals on the grain elevators and back. If you're an experienced paddler, you can do it in under 2 hours. If you want to take your time, it's more like 2.5 or 3. But we do also launch out of Rossford Marina, which I think is closer if you want to kayak by the murals. But Glass City Metro Park is amazing. I'm so excited that they put that in there.
Yes. One of my favorite routes is to go from Glass City Metro Park to Middle Grounds Metro Park. Have you ever done that?
I have not done that.
All right. I'm laying down the challenge, girl.
All right. Good. Like it.
Paddle over there. Yeah. And I think that's a good suggestion for anybody listening. They may think, okay, I've always wanted to try kayaking, but where am I going to get in the water and what am I going to kayak to? Like, what's the purpose here? But go see the sights. I recommend getting in the water at Glass City Metro Park, paddling over to Middle Grounds Metro Park. You will go under the high level bridge, as I call it. I'm not really sure what it's even called, the Anthony Wayne Bridge, maybe.
I
And
still call it the high level as well.
it's like, I think halfway through going there. And you get to see all of the, I call them skyscrapers, okay, but all of the skyscrapers there in downtown Toledo. And I recommend you take a picture. If you need a background for your LinkedIn profile and you are local to Toledo, there's your background. I did that for my husband. I took a picture on the Maumee River of downtown Toledo and I cropped it so that it looks perfect. And that is his background on LinkedIn. So his profile says that he's in the Metro Toledo area or Toledo metropolitan area, whatever. But it looks like he's from Toledo because it's got that cool background. So, anyways, I just wanted to recommend that you get in the water at Glass City Metro Park, paddle under the high level bridge, go over to Middle Grounds Metro Park, and then paddle back. It's a great opportunity. And Tina can get you there, right, Tina?
Yeah, absolutely. And we do, I didn't mention it, but we do also have tandem kayaks that are sit on top. So the singles, the tandems, the singles, as you well know, Kim, are much easier to navigate than a tandem.
Especially if you're a novice.
Right, right. It's funny because the novices always want the tandem because they don't want to be responsible, but it's actually much harder to do.
I would definitely agree with that. I actually have a non-paddler with me on a tandem kayak, and it is hard. I have to, like I said earlier, go out when the water is smooth as glass and the current's not running too fast, and my son doesn't have to worry about paddling. And there I am, I'm trying to run a tandem kayak all by myself.
Right.
So if I can only imagine it would be a little easier actually if you didn't have that second paddler. But yeah, it's so much easier to control if you're a single paddler in a single kayak. So take Tina's advice, just get the single kayak. But if you want to run a tandem kayak with a second paddler, I mean, that's easy street, I feel like, because you got two people trying to propel that kayak forward.
Yeah. And the best bet if it's even weight distribution. One of the things I'm thinking about doing, though, is I have for trade shows like a water bag that holds down the base of a flag. A lot of people want to put a 6 to 8-year-old child in the front and have a 250-pound guy in the back, and that just does not work very well. So I'm trying to figure out a way to like even out the weight distribution when it's a larger adult going with a small child. But you can also fit a small child in the middle. There's a middle seat in a tandem kayak, or a dog.
Yeah, I will attest that I have had 3 people on a tandem kayak. My friend Jen and I were training for I'm going to mess up the name of this. It was like the Maumee Valley Tri-Adventure Race or something like that. You bike, then you kayak, then you hike, and it's 50 miles total. And I think we only did 6 miles on the kayak. It was long. But my son, who was a lot lighter back then, he weighed a lot less. He would sit in the middle, and my friend Jen was in the front, and I was in the back, and the paddler in the back usually has kind of control over if you're going left, right, or center.
Right.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I feel like my son got wet from our paddles, kind of collecting the water as we were paddling forward. Yeah. But
Absolutely.
I mean, he didn't complain, but it is possible. I just want to say, because at the time, I think I weighed about 175 pounds. She probably weighed about 150. And my son was at least 110 or something. And the kayak, I think, held 550 pounds, maybe 525. We were pretty close to the max, but we were above water and it works. So I just wanted to attest that, yes, we have gotten 3 people on one of those tandem kayaks and it does work.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And they do get, you do get a little wet in the middle. I took my niece and my grandson out, and my grandson was in the middle, and my niece, who was 12, was in the front, and it's like we were on a road trip. They're the bickering. You're getting me wet. You're in a boat, guys.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. I can attest to that. But we were safe. We had the boat, we had the paddles, we had the vests, and we had somebody to drop us off and pick us up. And I think that's what you're offering, right, Tina?
Yeah, we definitely provide the full package on site. So boats, paddles, life vests, of course. We have a couple doggy life vests, but we do recommend people bring their own fitted to their dog. But again, if their dog's a good swimmer, it's that's on them. But yeah, so even with our night paddles, we do full moon adventures every month on or near the full moon, and we have lights for the boats, and I have upgraded the package to include mosquito netting for your face. So bring a hat and we'll put the mosquito netting over top of your face, and you won't be inhaling anything.
Oh my gosh, this is good info. I never thought about that because there are a lot of bugs on the water. I mean, that's where
There
mosquitoes
are.
breed.
Yes, 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 yes. We learned that our very first trip, and I'm like, we have a fix for this,
Yeah.
because you can't adventure without, a few challenges, right?
Yes, that is true. But some people who are not used to being on the river, especially during, like you were talking about, full moon, like at night, the
Yeah.
mosquitoes are worse at night, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Another Instagram post. I'm telling you, you need to put like a picture of people with the mosquito net. I think in the
Uh,
full moon cruise. I think that would be so good to post that.
yeah, we definitely got a good our last full moon cruise we did out of Cullen Park, and it was just a blast, and the moon was beautiful. And we did do the first one out of Orleans Park, and our next one is going to be out of Orleans Park. So I didn't go on the first one. I had my nephew lead that batch. So I'm excited to be able to launch out of there this in August.
Very cool. And it gets dark a little earlier. So what time do you guys
Yes.
launch?
Hallelujah. Not We will launch at 8:30. We'll get together about 8:15 and launch about 8:30. Um, so I literally just looked that up this morning. And then, even better, our sunrise adventures, because I have gotten out of bed at 4 a.m. for the last three. I think I can sleep till 5 this round. So getting up a little bit later for that will be nice as well.
Yes. Oh, thank God you love what you do, Tina. Thank God.
I do. And we only do those once a month. So it's not typically once a month. We're actually going to do two sunrises in August, simply because I'm going to be camping with my kids and grandkids out at Maumee Bay State Park. So we're going to go on a sunrise adventure anyway. So I figured I might as well open it up and see if anyone wants to go with us.
Absolutely. And the more the word gets out about what you're doing here, I think the more these will become popular, the sunrise and the moonlight cruises. And there you
Yeah.
go. Well, you just mentioned Maumee Bay State Park. I know you've got a couple of events coming up. Would you like to talk about those? Those are both at Maumee Bay, right?
We do, yeah. Maumee Bay is a great place to have events if you need tents or space near the water and parking and all of that good stuff. So we are doing. I'm partnering with Zoom Room Dog Training, which is actually a local Perrysburg business as well in the shopping center with Kroger, and we are going to be doing a Pawsome paddle adventure. So for each person and their dog, they show up. Obviously there's limited numbers. We'll have Sam, who is the head trainer at Zoom Room, there, and she's going to teach a class on how to acclimate your dogs to the kayaks or paddle boards. And then we're going to actually launch for typically a launch is 2 hours. We're going to launch for a half hour with each pet owner and pet, and then that should give us some bandwidth as well. If they'd like to try a kayak and a paddleboard, they can do that, come back and switch them out and try them on a couple of different watercraft. So we're pretty excited about that. That's going to be August 21st, as you said, at Maumee Bay State Park from 6 to 8. So definitely all of these adventures are ideally booked in advance to guarantee that you have a spot.
Very good. And where can they register for this?
Yeah, so they can register on the website. There's a whole booking platform that keeps track of how many boats I have and how many are already rented and all of that good stuff that I thank the Lord that I don't have to keep track of in my head. So it is popuppaddleadventures.com.
Thank you for sharing that. So that's the 21st of August, 2024, of course, from 6 to 8 p.m. at Maumee Bay State Park.
Correct.
Awesome. And what do you have coming up in September?
Oh, also in September, I wanted to do an event. September 2nd would have been my younger brother's 50th birthday. And unfortunately, we did lose him to suicide 3 years ago in September. And so, what we're going to do on September 2nd, which is Labor Day, is we are going to take all of the proceeds from kayaking for that day and we are going to donate them back to Lucas County Suicide Prevention Coalition. So I've been working with a number of volunteers from there and staff from that organization, and they are wonderful people. And we will have booths set up at Maumee Bay State Park to educate people on suicide prevention and mental health awareness. And we are hoping to have some food trucks there, and we will be renting out kayaks all day. And all of the proceeds will go to that organization.
Sounds good. I am so sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But I like that you're using your pain for a purpose and you're doing a fundraiser and you're also raising awareness and providing educational opportunities. So good on you.
Thank you. Yeah, we're happy to raise awareness for that and hopefully help some people along the way.
Absolutely. Yes. So that's Labor Day, Monday, September 2nd, 2024, 10 a to 6 p at Maumee Bay State Park.
Yes, thank you.
No problem. Yes, I love Maumee Bay State Park. I have not taken my kayak on the lake. Are you saying that people take their kayak on the lake or no?
Most of the time, no. We will be definitely for this event, we will be launching on the inland lake. There's a beautiful inland lake there. We were out there all weekend last weekend, so lots of pictures on Instagram of that. They every time I've been out there this year, there has been swans, eagles, obviously lots of people fishing, families playing at the beach and picnicking. It's absolutely beautiful, and this inland lake is surrounded by all of that, and it's a very nice place to launch. Now, that being said, I did have, a group of kayakers show up and go, "Oh, we thought we were going on the lake. We want to go collect beach glass." And they're like, "We signed the waiver." Of course, everyone has to sign a waiver. And I said, "If you really want to go on the lake, you can go on the lake." And so they did. So we just popped the trailer out of lot 1, swung it around to lot 7, and put those kayaks out on the beach. So we've got options, but obviously, for beginners, we would prefer that they stay on the inland lake.
I'm so glad you talked about the distinction between the two. I know exactly what you're talking about with that inland lake. I think there's like an amphitheater there and bathrooms, and yeah, it's very nice.
It's
right
very
there.
nice. It's very nice. We launch out of lot 1. They have a very nice handicap accessible kayak launch there. They also have where you can launch right off the shore. So we do both, depending on, how busy it is and whether or not someone prefers the handicap accessible launch, of course. But they're both right there off of lot 1, which is right next to the ranger station / administration building.
I'm glad you mentioned that there's a handicap accessible boat launch. That's what my son prefers. He has autism and his balance is not so great stepping into open water onto a kayak. He struggles with it, honestly. So those
Right.
handicap accessible boat launches are fantastic. Even though he has a developmental disability and he's able-bodied, he really needs that handicap accessible boat launch. Thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually my favorite launch as far as getting in and out of the boat. Super, super easy to do.
Yes, they're good for able-bodied and able-minded people as well. Yes.
Right.
Yes, don't shy away from it just because you're able-bodied. It's good for everyone. Absolutely.
For sure. So lots of exciting events coming up.
Tina, I really enjoyed talking to you about boat launches and your pop-up paddleadventures.com, but I know that you also have another business. So let's hear you talk about your other business.
Thank you. I'd love to do that. So Thrive, thr-5.com is where you can get a plethora of information about what we do. But primarily when I decided to leave corporate after 25 years of corporate marketing, IT, PR, I decided that I want to continue to help women own businesses. Most of my career, I've been traveling all over the country. I'm really focused now on local. So not local, just Perrysburg, but Perrysburg obviously is home, so that's a good place to start. But local Toledo region. So I'm helping women business owners launch new businesses, buy businesses, and just in general, make their businesses thrive. And we do this with a lot of different consulting opportunities, but we also do it with just a community. So one of the biggest things I found when I did my first startup was I really missed that corporate life. I missed having people to bounce ideas off of, people to, stand around the water cooler with. So we have monthly meetings, we have quarterly in-person meetings, and we have a private Facebook community where we can bounce ideas off of each other all the time and get outside feedback on the challenges we face as women business owners.
Thank you for talking about that. It sounds like you have an online business where you help women entrepreneurs individually, and you also have a community of women entrepreneurs. Kind of like, forgive the reference, but we're in Perrysburg and Yellow Jackets is the mascot for the high school, but you have like a hive mind going on over there, right? Everybody's into being a female entrepreneur, right?
Yeah, exactly. And to have those other female entrepreneurs, people that have some of the same values and goals that you do to help you grow your business. I mean, and we do. We're there. I was not in a sorority in college, but it's sort of like that. You know what I mean? We're there to help each other grow and progress.
Absolutely. Now, who's your ideal client when it comes to the individual side first?
The individual side is someone looking to buy a business or start a business, or someone that is, they've got their grassroots stuff done. They've started their business, but they're not seeing the growth that they want to see, or someone that's growing very quickly, because part of it is that we offer interim and fractional CMO services. So if they're growing really fast, that they think they might need a fractional chief marketing officer, then we can step in and help them with that, and actually help them define the role and help them hire a permanent position for that role.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. I have not worked with you personally, so I just wanted to give you an opportunity to, identify your ideal client in case somebody is listening who wants to work with you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Sure. And then when it comes to your community, what would you say is the result that your community members like most?
I think the result is having that support, not just from, family members or friends that, maybe still are in the corporate world, but from women who are facing the exact same challenges that you are. And knowing that when you talk about the challenges of having to be, the accountant and the PR person and the, chief bottle washer, that these other women that are in this group with you are experiencing those same challenges and finding ways to address them and to continue to thrive.
Great. That's awesome. I belong to a group of pharmacist entrepreneurs. It's called Metapreneurs. We're all healthcare entrepreneurs. Now it's expanded to allied health professions. Let's just say there's physical therapists, nurses, and among other people among us now too.
Right.
But it sounds like you kind of have something similar, but it's for, women entrepreneurs who are facing the same challenges. I love niching down because I think niching down really gets you the people that really want to be there.
Exactly. Exactly. And, after COVID, there are a whole lot of people like myself that said, I don't think this super corporate life is for me anymore. I'm just not in that space. And but they may not have the same corporate life experiences that help them build that business. So, being able to come to someone who is also local that can offer and augment the experiences that you do have is just a benefit of this community.
When you get a lot of strong leaders together in the same powwow, so to speak, in the same community, it's got to be hard to kind of be the chief of them. So I got to ask you a question. This is just from me as a person who belongs to a group of like minded people. How do you maintain your status as the chief when you've got so many strong leaders in your tribe?
So, we just kicked off in March of this year. And a lot of my focus over the summer has been on pop up. But I will tell you, when we have our weekly meetings, they can tend to get off scope. So we basically we run it. Everyone knows going in what the agenda is, how much time they have to talk about their specific issue. But then we also have an open forum to talk about any challenges anyone's facing. And so it does tend to, it can go over if we all start chiming in, which we always do. So we took it from initially it was going to be a 1 hour meeting, and we're like, okay, guys, let's just schedule an hour and a half. But then I do have to go, okay, guys, we're going to, wrap it up. Let's continue this conversation in the online community. It's a private Facebook group. So that's one way to do it. But ultimately, for the community section of Thrive, I'm intending once we get to a certain number of members to form a committee so that it's not my community, it's our community. So I'm going to step away from that leadership role a little bit.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, with your 20 some years of experience in leadership as a business owner and with your MBA degree, I'm sure that you have all the tools. You've learned all the things that you need to know to lead this, but it sounds like you're also following their lead too and turning it into more of a Facebook discussion.
Right. I mean, because that's being there to support each other is the biggest thing. So it doesn't have to be in the live meeting because we're all super, super busy. So, doing it, in a format like the online community allows us to chime in when we can. Because trying to schedule a meeting when everyone's available, it's like, okay, we just have to know that everyone's not going to be at every meeting.
Yes, good for you pivoting when you're seeing what's working and what the community is asking for and what's really helping them. So good for you recognizing that you needed to pivot already, even though this just started in March.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been fun so far.
Is there anything else you'd like to talk about? And this is pronounced Thrive, not THR-5, right?
Correct.
Anything else you'd like to say about Thrive?
No, I think we're good there. Thank you.
No problem. Yes, I will put a link to this business, Thrive, in the show notes on perrysburgpodcast.com. The website again is thr-5.com. Tina, as we start to wrap this up, is there anything else you'd like to share?
Kim, I've just really enjoyed chatting with you and getting to know you a little bit better. And maybe we'll see each other out kayaking at some point.
Yeah, maybe I'll see you on the river. Tina,
Yeah.
thanks so much for being here on the Perrysburg podcast. Take
All
care.
right. You too, Kim. Bye-bye.
Thanks again to Tina Saunders for being my guest today on episode 55 of the Perrysburg podcast. I enjoyed hearing about pop-up paddle adventures, her community of Perrysburg area women entrepreneurs at Thrive, and the upcoming events that she has planned at Maumee Bay State Park August 21st and September 2nd. It's still summer. It's only August 9th as I publish this. Get out and have yourself an adventure. To read the show notes for this episode, go to perrysburgpodcast.com and click on episode 55. In the show notes, you'll find links to the Pawsome paddle that Tina talked about, the Lucas County Suicide Prevention Coalition, pop-up paddle adventures, Tina's online business, which is called Thrive, and more. Lots of links today. Everything you need is on perrysburgpodcast.com. As we start to wrap this up, I want to mention that the Perrysburg podcast has a weekly email newsletter. If you would like to be notified of each new episode of the Perrysburg podcast via email, sign up for the newsletter today on perrysburgpodcast.com. You can also subscribe to or follow the Perrysburg podcast on your favorite podcast player and YouTube to get each new episode right when it comes out. If you know someone who enjoys boating in Perrysburg or might like to have a kayaking or paddleboard adventure here in the Perrysburg area, go ahead and share this episode with them. I thank you for listening today, and I will talk to you next week.